On May 2nd of the year 2000, Arkansas executed the first female that it had executed in over 150 years. That woman that was executed was named Christina Marie Riggs. Christina spent a short amount of time on death row. Her crime occurred in 97, so she was only on death row for less than 3 years. In 1997, Christina was living in an apartment in Sherwood with her 2 children, Justin Thomas, who was 5 years old, and Shelby Riggs, who was 2 years old. She was estranged from her husband, John Riggs, at the time of the crime. Christina was working as an LPN. I believe that she was working at Arkansas Heart Hospital at the time of her crime. Christina had struggled with depression for a major part of her life. So she decided that she was going to do a murder-suicide with her 2 children. Because of her work as a LPN, Christina could get medications that most of us couldn't. Christina stole potassium chloride from her work, and she also stole morphine. She was able to get Elavil, a medication, from her pharmacist. Elavil has a sedative property, and that's what she was going to use it for. So on November 4th, 1997, Christina mixed Elavil and water and gave it to her 2 children to drink. When they were passed out, she injected Justin in the neck with undiluted potassium chloride. Potassium chloride burns if it's undiluted, so it burned a great deal and caused him excruciating pain. So she injected him with morphine. She rocked him while the morphine was taking effect, and then she smothered him to death. She didn't try to inject Shelby because of what had happened with Justin, so she just smothered Shelby. She took her 2 children that were deceased and put them in her bed and covered them up. She then took 28 Elavil tablets herself and injected herself with potassium chloride. Christina wrote 2 suicide notes. One of them said, "I hope one day you will forgive me for taking my life and the life of my children, but I can't live like this anymore, and I couldn't bear to leave my children behind, to be a burden on you, or to be separated and raised apart from their fathers, and live knowing their mother killed herself." The next day, when she didn't show up at work and didn't answer the phone, her mother came to check on her. That was November the 5th. Part 2. This is part 2 on Christina Riggs. I'm really sorry I tried to fit it into a part 1, but I couldn't. There's just too much. So Christina left 2 suicide notes. Just my personal thoughts on the suicide notes. How dare you? I hate when parents do this. I couldn't bear the thought of my children thinking that I did something so terrible, so I murdered them instead. What are you thinking? Anyway, that's just my opinion. So on November 5th, her mother came to check on her. She found them all and thought that they were all deceased. She called the police, and ambulance came and took Christina to the hospital. I said Christina had injected herself with potassium chloride. That potassium chloride had burned through a silver dollar-sized hole in her arm. So Christina went to trial in 1998. She tried to plead not guilty by reason of insanity. She blamed her chronic depression, but she was convicted by a jury. In the penalty phase of the trial, she wouldn't allow her attorneys to defend her. She said that she wanted a death sentence. When Christina was taken to death row at McPherson Prison in Newport, she was the only woman there, of course, since there aren't any other women on death row in Arkansas. Christina was executed May 2nd of 2000. Her final words were, "There is no way, no words can express how sorry I am for taking the lives of my babies. Now I can be with my babies as I always intended. I love you, my babies."